Hello, stamping friends. I am Terry at Rustic Barn Cards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in sunny Florida today. So let me know what the weather is like where you're at and where you're at. And have you done any stamping this week? Well, I have a fun card for you today. Now, the idea for this card is from Jackie Boheis. And today's card is called a window card. I'm going to set up my laptop so I can see some of your comments, and I'll be right back. All right, so today, well, first of all, if there's a button on the corner that says live, then you are watching this live with me, Tuesday, March 23rd. If you do not see the live up in the corner, then you're watching the replay. Either way, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you found your way to Rustic Barn Cards. Now, I'm going to give the demo card away today. So if you leave a comment, you will be entered in a drawing to win the demo card. Now, if you're not watching it live and you're watching the replay, go ahead and leave me a comment because I'm going to give away one of the cards that I'm going to share at the end. I'm also going to give away the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder, and I'm actually going to use the embossing folder today in my card, but I'm also going to give away this brand new Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. And the way you can enter the drawing is by liking and sharing this video. So let me turn, hi there, Jenny. Let me turn the camera down so we can start stamping. And we're going to make a fun window card. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't have anything fancy, so hang on. And you'll see the ceiling for a second. And then you should, if things go right, see the workstation. And we'll get another light on. I also want to let you know that the retiring list for the annual catalog that's going to retire the first part of May, it's coming out tomorrow, Wednesday, March 24th. And you can check all those details on my blog tomorrow at rusticbarncards.com or on my Facebook. So today, let me show you what we're going to need. We only need 2 ink. I'm using a Granny Apple Green, and then Memento Tuxedo Black. And I'm going to start with a card base. And this is 4 by 10.5, and it's scored at 5 1/4. Now, you don't need to worry about writing all of the dimensions down because I will have them on my blog at rusticbarncards.com. And if you're watching the replay, then it will be down below in the description. So I'm going to just fold this on the score line and go ahead and use my bone folder to give it a crisp edge. And then I also need basic white, and it is 3 3/4 by 10 1/4. And we're going to fold this in half, and it's going to go inside the card base. And I already have one already folded. And then you'll need a scrap of, I'm using Daffodil Delight, so you need a scrap of Daffodil Delight to stamp your sentiment. And then a card base that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And there's a couple other things as we go along, but that's your basic cardstock that you're going to need. So I'm going to bring in our card base. Hi, Jess. I'm glad you're here too. And we are going to emboss just the front. So again, I'm bringing in the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. So I'm only going to emboss the front. So I'm going to open up my cardstock. And you could use any embossing folder that you wanted to. It doesn't have to be the Dainty Diamonds. I'm going to share some cards with you at the end, and I used a different, one card has a different embossing folder. But I do want to tell you that you'll see your score line, and so you're going to emboss up to that score line because you only want half of this to be embossed. So we're not going to emboss this, just this half. And then I'm going to go ahead and run that through the embossing machine. And voila, it looks like this. So you'll see this is not embossed, and I just embossed the front, and of course the inside. So now what we're going to do, so we're going to bring in I'm using the layering circle dies, and I'm using the 3-inch circle die. But if you have a 3-inch punch, that would work too. But you only want to cut out on the front of the card. So I'm going to leave this open. So if you had a punch, you could punch the circle out, but I don't. So I'm going to use the circle die. And I'm not going to place it right in the middle. I'm going to place it a little bit up from the middle. That way I have room to place my sentiment down below the circle. But I am going to try to center my die so I have about the same amount of space on the right as I do on the left. And let me run this through the cut and emboss machine. And here's what we have. And then, of course, we have this that maybe you could use on another card. All right, so now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring in the basic white. That's 3 3/4 by 10 1/4. And this is going to be going inside our card. So I'm going to lay it in here right now. I'm not going to adhere it yet. I'm going to lay it in here. And again, this is a window card. And I'm going to take a pencil because I want to stamp in here, but I need to know where I'm going to stamp at. So I'm going to lightly trace around this circle. So that way when I take my cardstock out, then I know where I'm going to stamp. And speaking of stamping, we are using the Celebrate Sunflowers, which is a lovely set in our annual catalog. I don't know whether this stamp set will be retiring tomorrow or not. I hope not, because I really love this stamp set. And it comes with dies, sunflower dies. And we are going to use the large sunflower, and our sentiment, we're going to use Thanks a Bunch. So those are the only two stamps that we're going to use today out of the Celebrate Sunflowers. So I already have my sunflower mounted, and I'm going to bring in my Memento black ink. I am going to be using some blends, 2 different colors, Granny Apple Green and Daffodil Delight. Now, because this is such a large stamp, I am just turning my ink over. You don't have to, but it works, for me, it works better when it's a large stamp like this. And I want to make sure I have it inked up really well. And I don't think it really matters, but I kind of like, see those little smaller leaves right there? I kind of have like those on the bottom, but you can have it however you want. And then I am going to open this card up because I want to make sure I get a good impression. Hi, Judy. I'm glad you're here. And then I'm going to look right over and stamp on that circle. And then you do want to press down. Give even pressure all over your stamp. So straight down and straight up. And you will want this to set and let it dry for just a few minutes. And then you're going to bring your eraser in, and we're going to erase the marks on our sunflower. And I'm going to start with just erasing right between these leaves while I'm waiting for the ink to kind of dry. And it's probably dry now. Now I am going to show you an option using vellum on this card. I know some of you, my customers, really like to use vellum, and I probably don't use it as much as I should. All right, so you just erase those pencil marks, and then I'm bringing in Granny Apple Green Blends and the Daffodil Delight. And I'm not going to use very much of the Daffodil Delight, but I want to use just a little bit. Now, you don't have to watch me. I'm not going to color the entire thing. I already have one all ready to go because I like to keep my lives between 20 and 30 minutes. But I'm going to start out with the dark Daffodil Delight. And I'm using that line's a little thicker, so that's the line, the side I'm going to use. And then I'm just going to kind of go over those lines that are already there. And then just kind of go around. So I'm just going to kind of go around the edge, kind of give it a little bit of a shadow. You can see what I'm doing there. Okay, and then I'll come back with the light Daffodil Delight. Oh, I'm glad you like this, the sunflower stamp, Judy. I do too. And that's why I thought I'm going to get this out and use it. It's been a while. And then you just blend. So I'm making a couple of these just with the light, and then some of them will have the using the dark and the light, so I get a variation. So then I'll go back with my dark, and I just go over those lines that are already there. And I can just kind of go like this, kind of just trace around the leaves with the dark, and then I can fill it in with the light. I love these alcohol blends. And then I use the dark for the middle. I went ahead and just kind of go around with the dark Daffodil Delight. And then I used Granny Apple Delight. And just filled in the middle with the Granny Apple. And then went ahead and filled this in with the light. So I did the dark edge and then the light. So let me show you the one that I already have finished. So when you finish it, it will look like this. So I did the dark here, and then the light Daffodil Delight, and then I used the light Granny Apple Green. And that way, because it'll kind of bring out the Granny Apple Green of our card. I'm really liking Granny Apple Green. I think it's one of my favorites. It's so bright and cheerful. So now what we're going to do is that we are ready to adhere this inside our card. But before I do that, I want to show you. So you're going to place it in here in your card base. And here's and you can place it just a little bit below, but not much. But that way, so this will fold over. And then talking about the vellum, if you wanted to, you could cut a piece of vellum. And you would cut this 3 3/4 by probably 5 1/2. That way, if you wanted to, and I'm not going to, but if you wanted to, you could lay this over, and then you would have enough room that you could adhere it right here. So you could fold your vellum over, so you're adhering it on the back, so it doesn't show, and then you would have it that it would look like this. So that's just an option to add the vellum. Okay. So I'm going to turn this card over and I'm going to add liquid glue. Do any of you have a favorite color? What's your favorite color from Stampin' Up? And then I'm going to place this right here and make sure it's down just a little bit. And then I fold. And there we go. Now we're ready for our sentiment. So I'm going to bring back the Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to stamp in Granny Apple Green. And Thanks a Bunch, and this is in the Celebrate Sunflowers. So we'll go ahead and ink this up. I think I'll do it one more time. There we go. So that's the only, I better put the cap on the Memento Black before I get my fingers in it, right? And then I'm going to bring in stitch rectangles. I just put them in this case, but I love these stitched rectangles. They're in the annual catalog. They're so useful. And this is the one I'm going to use, and I'm just going to place it upside down, there we go, right over my sentiment. And then I'm just going to use some little Post-it strips. I just like to use those just to make sure they're going to stay in place when I take it through the die cutting machine. And then it looks like this. Thanks a bunch. And then we are going to turn this over and we're going to add some dimensionals and pop it up with dimensionals. And then we're going to add a little embellishment too. I like to add embellishments, either a ribbon or some bling. And then I'm going to place this right down here. There's our card, and let's bring in our Rhinestone Basic Jewels. Now I do have a few other cards to show you that I made using different colors. And I bring in my Take Your Pick tool. This is so handy. And one end you have some putty that you can pick things up with. And then this end you turn and you can have a little spatula. So I'll just use that little spatula. And you could use either one. I'm going to put a rhinestone right up here. And let's do another one. Oh, let's get a larger one and put it down here. So here is our window card. What do you think? Do you like it? So then it opens up. And you could also stamp in here if you wanted. Now it is true that the blends will go through, and I'll show you a card what I did. I think that is fine, but I also die cut another sunflower and put on the inside. But here's our card, thanks a bunch, and let me show you some others that I made. I have 3 others. So on this card, I used crumb cake for the base, and I think it was Blackberry Bliss. I had to look for a second. I put thanks a bunch, and I used the pastel. I love these pastel pearls. So I used those, and I put one in the center of the sunflower on this one. And then I did go ahead and stamp Blackberry Bliss and put it on the front or in the inside of my card, which covered up covered up the blends going through. So that's just another option. Okay, then another card. I use So Saffron for the yellow and black card base. And here I used, for the little bling, I used the Ice Cream Corner sprinkles. Have you seen these? These are in the mini catalog. And that is when my Take Your Pick tool pull that off sometimes and then get it going. Then you just turn it. But I wanted to show you how you just take a few of these and you can just see how easy you can pick and place your sprinkles on your card. And I better set this aside before I have sprinkles everywhere, right? Hi, Denise. I'm glad you're here. So here is, I didn't use blends in this card. I just stamped it in the Memento Black. Life is better with a friend like you. And this sentiment comes from another stamp set, which is what's so much fun about Stampin' Up. You can use what you have. Now on this card, I went ahead and I did stamp it in black and then I die cut it out. The sunflower, I used my die cut and I cut it out and then glued it on the front here. And then inside I used a label. So again, just a little variation. That is what is so fun about cards, right? My last card I wanted to share with you. Hi, Heidi. Just saw you pop in. You've probably been here a while. I just happened to notice you. I'm glad you're here. This is Know That You Are Loved. And I use a Balmy Blue. And then for the... And see. And the cardstock is Bermuda Bay. So Bermuda Bay and Balmy Blue. I'm not even sure those two colors go together, but I used them anyway. And then I used the pastel pearls. So which one do you like the best? Let me know which one you like the best. Don't forget to leave a comment because I'm giving away the demo card that I made today. And if you're watching if you're live and if you're watching the replay, leave me a comment and I'm going to send a draw for one of the cards that I shared. And I'm also, if you want to be in the drawing for the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder, then like and share this video and let me know. I'm glad you like this design, Heidi. I think this is a really fun window card. And as I mentioned earlier, I did get this idea from Jackie Boheis. So I want to give her credit. She used a different stamp set. But I hope I've given you some options with the vellum and how you can stamp and then die cut and add. And then on another card where you could die cut and add to cover up where the blends are. So which one do you like? You like this kind of a deep purple, the black and yellow, the granny apple green, or the Bermuda Bay and the Balmy Blue? What is your favorite? And don't forget, you can check out my blog at rustybarncards.com. I don't have it up yet, but I will have later on today all the dimensions and the directions for you so you can make one of these cards yourself. And I'd love to hear how yours turns out. I'm ready for summer too. That's right, Jenny. I love deep colors. Just this Granny Apple Green and Daffodil Delight just makes me smile. I appreciate you watching. And and one more thing, if you do not have a demonstrator and would like a catalog, reach out to me. You can email me at rusticbarncards@gmail.com and let me know you'd like a catalog. If you're already a customer of mine, then you're on the list to receive a catalog. Thank you for watching and have a great day.